Good afternoon everybody. Buon pomeriggio a tutti. And it's a pleasure today to have as a guest in our February Smart Talk Irene Georgalla, who is the head of Economic Diplomacy Department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Cyprus. The Smart Talk will be moderated by my colleague, as usual, my colleague Federico Franchina, that is the Vice President of the Italian-Cypriot Chamber of Commerce. We are at the second Smart Talk of the year. We started in January with the presence of Vincenzo Salazar, who representing the economic diplomacy of Italy as global head of infrastructure of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we will continue in February with Irene, that represent the economic diplomacy of the government of Cyprus. Today is a difficult day regarding the international situation, the international situation, as we all know, but hopefully in the coming days the situation will be solved. The role of international diplomacy is, of course, really important on this. It's really sad to see what we are seeing now, really close to our border, but in any case, we hope that all will be solved soon. So I leave the floor to Federico. Just before to leave the floor to Federico, let me say something about Irene Georgalla, because currently she is the head of economic diplomacy of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Cyprus. Previously, she had experience at European level in the Directorate General for European Programs, Coordination and Development, and previously as in the permanent representation of Cyprus in the European Union in Brussels. So we can say that she has a relevant experience in the government administration of Cyprus. Thanks, Irene, for your presence today. We are really happy to have you also, because you know our activity is in really close cooperation with the Economic Diplomacy Department of both countries, Italy and Cyprus, with all the institutions involved in the promotion and support of the business of the business. So I will leave the floor to Federico, and let's start the Smart Talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Giuseppe. Thank you very much. Very welcome to Mrs. Georgalla, Irene. Thank you very much. And I, of course, follow the prayers for those Ukrainians that are suffering in this moment. They are suffering, but they are struggling and fighting against the invasion. We decide to carry on with our activity, also in consideration of the fact that the recent history of European Union has clearly showed that where goods flows, where business and international relations among people, companies and states are good, we don't see any war, any crimes at international level. So our commitment is to strengthen, to enlarge the business relation between Italy and Cyprus, and even to build up a very, very peaceful relation. This is what we learned from history right now. And I just want to first of all ask to Mr. Georgalla to deliver to our distinguished audience a general overview about the main responsibility of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Economic Diplomacy Department. We see that Cyprus in the recent years has shifted from one shape to another one, stressed and highlighted the attention on the economic diplomacy and also your role within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So please, Irene.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you, Giuseppe. Thank you, Federico, for this introduction. And thank you also for the opportunity to present to your members the work that is being carried out in the framework of economic diplomacy here at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Of course, we have excellent cooperation with your chamber, and allow me to congratulate you on your valuable efforts to promote the business relations between our two countries. Thank you also to everyone who has joined today. I hope you find our discussion useful. Before answering to your question, Federico, allow me also to comment on the issue of current developments. I would like to say that Cyprus has condemned in the strongest possible terms the Russian invasion in Ukraine. As a country that has suffered a foreign invasion and occupation, we're in a better position than anybody to understand the suffering of the Ukrainian people, to whom we express full solidarity, and also we express our strong hope for a constructive dialogue that will lead to immediate ceasefire, because the tragic loss of lives should stop. So having said that, and turning to your question, allow me please first to give you a quick background on how we started focusing on economic diplomacy here at the ministry. Actually, it was back in 2016 that a unit for economic diplomacy was created here within the ministry. It was a part of a structural reform process of the ministry. After establishing this unit, it became clear very quickly that we needed to have a holistic approach on this issue. So we turned to the European Commission for technical support through a specific program. And that's how we started this process of basically developing a model for economic diplomacy for Cyprus. Our role at the launch of this initiative was the development of close and substantial relations with all key economic and business stakeholders of Cyprus, as well as the creation of, let's say, an economic diplomacy culture within the ministry. Also, our role was to develop a model and a strategy for economic diplomacy of Cyprus. And following all the work and the implementation of this project that was funded by the European Commission, we developed a strategy, and this was adopted in October 2021 by the Council of Ministers. And therefore, we are now in the implementation phase of this strategy. Now, the role of the ministry within this strategy is actually to take a more active role in the promotion of economic relations of Cyprus with other countries, and to facilitate and enhance the work of other responsible ministries which are involved in economic diplomacy issues. And we do so through our network of embassies around the world, leveraging diplomatic relations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We learned that indeed a lot of things have changed. So you have a new strategy. And in this sense, what about the model of international promotion and business support activity of the government of Cyprus around the world? Which are the relevant public entities that are involved in this specific field?
Well, indeed, in our efforts to develop economic diplomacy for Cyprus, we focus basically on three important elements. And number one, and most importantly, it was the governance of the strategy, meaning that we identified really early on that there were different stakeholders involved in actions of economic diplomacy, different ministries, and so there was a lack of, let's say, a set of common objectives within this framework. So even though we were all working towards enhancing economic relations, we were not doing it in a holistic and coordinated manner. So it was important first to define this governance framework, how decisions are taken, how we implement this strategy, and so on. So based on this decision of the Council of Ministers, we have set up an interministerial committee for economic diplomacy, which is consisted of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Energy, Trade and Commerce. And we also allow for a wider participation in this interministerial committee, depending on the issues that have to be discussed. This is at the political level, and then at the technocratic level, we have representatives from the ministries that I have already mentioned, but also from the three, let's say, deputy ministries, the Directorate General for Growth in Cyprus, which is responsible for the European funds, and also Invest Cyprus, which is the investment promotion agency of Cyprus. So this was the first element of our approach. The second element was the actual setting of the strategy. What is our envisioned impact with this, which is enhancing economic prosperity through increased trade, foreign direct investment, innovation, and national branding, maximizing the benefits of diplomatic relations. So these are basically the elements that consist of our strategic objectives, namely increasing trade, foreign direct investment, but we focus on investment that will bring significant added value to the economy and actually have spillover, innovation spillovers to the economy. And then we also focus on the national branding of Cyprus, where that was an area where we discovered that there was also a lack of a holistic approach, and therefore we will try to see and act in a coordinated manner on how to promote, let's say, the characteristics of Cyprus and the Cyprus economy. And then lastly, third element is actually the training for our diplomatic staff, providing guidance and ensuring that they have all the information available to them in order to promote economic diplomacy in their countries where they have presence.
Thank you very much. Very, I think you have created an environment which you put different subjects, entities, private and public, in order to facilitate the cooperation. This is a very good point. And we see how also is important the geography in terms of, well, it's a subject matter that maybe we study at the beginning of our schools, but we for the future we completely forget. And in this sense, we now discovered how is important the geography. And as Cyprus, some specific areas or sectors in which there are major interests of presence related to those strategy in terms of development and economic diplomacy?
Yes, firstly, on the sectors of let's say major interest of Cyprus, I have to say that these are defined by the economic policy of the government, and that is where we focus on. So at the moment, so for example, our strategy for economic diplomacy is flexible enough to accommodate any changes in the economic policy of the government once they are adopted. So at the moment, we have two key policies as government. One is the long-term economic strategy, which is called Vision 2035, is currently being finalized, but there was a huge process of consultation and development of this strategy nationwide. It focuses on green and digital growth, and it aims to enhance the competitiveness of Cyprus as a center for professional services. And at the same time, it focuses on the development of light manufacturing, agriculture, agri-tech, and e-health. Of course, this doesn't exclude any other sectors, but these are, let's say, sectors that are going to be given further attention. And then the other key, let's say, strategy defining sectors of focus is a strategy for attracting businesses and talent to Cyprus, which was actually launched at the beginning of this year. It places emphasis on sectors of high technology, shipping, innovation, research and development, biogenetics, and biotechnology. And it has some common ground with the Vision 2035 that I mentioned, but this strategy is actually providing incentive and putting in place certain procedures that would facilitate investment in these sectors. Now, as regards geographical areas, our aim is to utilize the full network of the Cyprus embassies abroad, but I would say that there is a stronger focus on our partners within the European Union, including, of course, Italy. And then there's focus on countries like the UK, countries in the Eastern Mediterranean and the Gulf, as well as the US, India, and Japan. But this list is not exhaustive, let's say, that I have mentioned. We try to promote economic diplomacy actions throughout the network of the whole network of our embassies abroad.
Perfect, thank you. It's very, very clear. We already seen before the pandemic and also what is happening with the invasion of Ukraine, the relevance of some fields, I mean energy, artificial intelligence, so on. In this sense, what are for local economy sectors that had the most important growth in the previous years, and what are the ones that you believe will have more potential in the future? Also, and above all, in the light to make Cyprus an hub for business in the East Mediterranean area.
Well, it is a fact that the Cyprus economy is dominated by services, which account for about 82% of gross value added. In the past, the most prominent sectors that contributed to growth included tourism, shipping, business and financial services, and real estate. But in recent years, also because of the policies that the government is following, there is a broadening of the productive base, let's say, of the economy, and there are new sectors emerging with significant potential. These include ICT and high-tech companies, higher education. At the moment, we have 9 universities operating in Cyprus. I think renewable energy will be developed in the coming years. Also, there is strong support in the resilience and recovery plan of Cyprus for this sector, but also there are national funds directed for the development of renewable energy. Innovation is a new sector. There is a really young and new, let's say, ecosystem of innovation in Cyprus, but we see very positive signs of developments with also promising investment in startups and startups by the private sector. Another sector is investment funds, which is also young but developing rapidly in Cyprus. And then sectors like health and biotechnology that we see that have a future potential.
That's very good. Indeed, we seen in last September when we host the Italian-Cypriot Business Forum a lot of initiatives that Cyprus is carrying on in order to intercept the economic growth and to become a very strong country for business development in the East Med. In our business forum, the Minister of Energy, Commerce and Industry, has introduced a lot of potentiality in the initiative. In this sense, can you tell us more about these specific actions finalized to attract foreign investment companies in Cyprus, please?
Yes, gladly. I think you're referring to the strategy for attracting businesses and talent. This was adopted by the Council of Ministers in October 2021, and it was launched at the beginning of this year. I briefly mentioned this before when we were talking about the sectors where we focus our efforts on. So what this strategy includes, first and foremost, is the creation of a business facilitation unit within the Ministry of Energy, Commerce and Industry. It was previously operating as a fast-track mechanism for businesses who wanted to establish presence in Cyprus, but now it has been upgraded, let's say, and it covers a wider range of services. This unit facilitates the registration and licenses procedure for companies that want to establish a base in Cyprus. And also they facilitate the issuance of residence and work permits. So basically they work as a, let's say, one-stop shop for companies that want to establish presence in Cyprus, and they assist them throughout the whole procedure of establishing operations. So another part of this strategy is a new policy for the employment of high-skilled third country nationals, which includes simplification of the procedures and actually broadening of the coverage for these permits. These are specifically for the sectors of shipping, high-tech, innovation companies, pharmaceuticals, and biogenetics and biotechnology companies. And this policy also includes the provision of work permits for spouses, as well as for supporting staff. There are specific criteria for this, and also for the following things that I'm going to mention that are included in this strategy. You can find all this information in the website of the Ministry of Finance, and there you can find specifically the criteria and what each measure covers. So it also includes a broadening of tax incentives for non-domicile employees, new and existing. This one covers new and existing employees. There is a tax exemption for investments in innovative companies and tax deduction for research and development expenditure. And this strategy also introduces the digital nomad visa, which is created for the first time. So with this package, we consider that we give, let's say, a special focus and incentives for companies in these sectors to establish base and operations in Cyprus.
Thank you. It's very a large picture about tools that companies can use in order to establish a business in Cyprus. Moving to the commercial part of this conversation, we see as a chamber that when we make some business forum or some event, that a lot of companies that are not familiar with Italian-Cyprus relations, they don't know exactly what is the kind of relation in terms of economic and trade. They ask about, and well, before they ask, we of course present what is the relevance of the Italian-Cypriot relations. In these terms, could you give us a picture about the commercial trade between the two countries, and above all, what are the sectors where you see more potential growth in terms of development for coming years?
Yes, well, I actually, when I looked at the data and when we look at the latest data that we have for 2020, we see that goods from Italy account for a much more significant, let's say, percentage of the goods imported to Cyprus than what Cyprus exports to Italy. So Italy is accounted for about 8.3% of the goods imported to Cyprus, whereas exports of goods from Cyprus to Italy account for 1.1% of all the goods exported by Cyprus. Of course, we need to take into consideration that this volume of trade was negatively affected by the pandemic and the disruption this has caused in international trade. And when we look at, let's say, preliminary data for last year, we see an increase that basically is reinstating, let's say, pre-pandemic levels, so they are higher. The image is a little bit different as regards trade in services. Their Cyprus exports to Italy amount to 127 million, and imports of services from Italy account for 82 million. So Cyprus exports of services are higher than the amount imported from Italy. Now, as regards the coming years, I believe that there is a potential to increase the volume of our bilateral trade, fully harnessing the benefits that the EU internal market offers for this. So, for example, based also on the strategy that I mentioned earlier, Cyprus is promoting policies to further develop light manufacturing and agri-tech sectors, which could prove useful to increase, let's say, the volume of goods exported. But also, I believe that the many opportunities for further bilateral cooperation arise in the framework of our respective national recovery and resilience plans. And we would be happy to promote partnerships of Cypriot and Italian companies, also, of course, with the contribution of the chamber in that respect. I would just like to mention that the Cyprus Recovery and Resilience Plan foresees a total of 1.2 billion in grants and loans. Of course, this is a small amount in absolute terms compared with the respective RRP of Italy, which is, if I'm not mistaken, 191 billion. But if we put it in the context of Cyprus's GDP, the size of our RRP is quite significant. So I'm sure that we have a lot of opportunities to explore there. The Cyprus program has a strong orientation towards green and digital transformation of Cyprus. It devotes 41% of the plan's allocation to measures that support climate objectives. It includes reforms relating to the introduction of green taxation, the liberalization of the electricity market, facilitating energy renovations in buildings, and accelerating electric mobility. And it also devotes 23% of this allocation to measures that support the digital transition. So I believe that there is a huge potential in participating, cooperation between Cypriot and Italian companies in this context.
Thank you very much. You mentioned also the agri-tech sectors. We will have on March Smart Talk the Director General of one of the most important and very innovation company in Italy in the field of agri-tech sectors. Let me move to another sector, energy. And let me say that when we started with the chamber 3 or 4 years ago, we of course pointed out the huge potential in the oil and gas that Cyprus has. And I, of course, remember very well 3 years ago when we, of course, held a business forum and other events talking about the energy. And of course, the energy 3 years ago was very, very cheap. So people, companies, public and private entity, almost everybody told, okay, but it's not a matter to explore and exploit energy resources. It's very expensive to do this, to bring this kind of energy outside the Cyprus. So we usually reply, okay, but it's European Union energy. So we can rely on our European Union energy. So nowadays, we see how it's important to have European Union resource. In these terms, you know very well that Cyprus, the oil and gas industry in Cyprus has very great potential. And how can this sector can have a role as a leverage to attract foreign direct investment?
Thank you for this question. Indeed, this is a pertinent issue, especially with recent developments. Cyprus has emerged as a country with significant potential for energy sources in the past years. The discovery of natural gas reserves within Cyprus's exclusive economic zone is very important, not only for the country itself, but also for the EU, in terms of the potential it creates for the diversification of its supply of natural gas and therefore energy security. Diversification of resources is not the only factor to be taken into account. Equal importance should be paid to the diversification of routes. So, of course, this should not be seen as a possibility created by Cyprus alone, but in the wider context of the region of the Eastern Mediterranean and the opportunities for synergies and cooperation it creates, including, for example, in the framework of the Eastern Mediterranean Gas Forum. The aim is to create a strategic energy corridor from the Eastern Mediterranean to Europe, namely the Eastern Mediterranean Gas Corridor, which includes various options like pipelines and LNG terminals. Cyprus had its first natural gas discovery in 2011 in the Aphrodite field in Block 12, followed by discoveries in Calypso in Block 6 and in Glafkos in Block 10. The results of these explorations are promising, but we need to wait as the exploration program unfolds in order to be able to appraise the full potential. So the oil and gas industry provides opportunities for foreign direct investment and businesses related to the creation of the necessary infrastructure. And this relates to import, transport, processing, and storage. And subsequently, this creates an ecosystem that is required for supporting services, supporting businesses around these sectors, and other support that will be needed. Italy plays a significant role in the energy sector of Cyprus, with the presence of ENI in 7 of their 9 licensed blocks. In addition to other Italian companies, of course, that are participating or have expressed interest to participate in the wider spectrum of the energy sector. So having said that, I would also like to underline that the government used gas as a bridge fuel, enabling a fast and efficient transition to cleaner forms of energy, and it is fully committed to the European Green Deal. Gas is not currently included in Cyprus's energy mix, as you might know, and it will be introduced because it is less polluting than other fossil fuels, such as petroleum, on which the country currently relies heavily on for the production of energy. In fact, Cyprus's integrated national energy and climate plan for the period 2021-2030 is currently being revised in order to adapt to more ambitious targets in line with the Fit for 55 package of the EU, and having as ultimate goal climate neutrality by 2050. In this framework, the Ministry of Energy, Commerce and Industry implements a series of actions in order to introduce more renewable energy sources in our energy mix. And this is done through structural reforms, electricity interconnection projects, in order to lift the energy isolation of Cyprus, such as the Eurasia and the Euro-Africa interconnectors. We also foster the development of competition in the internal market of energy and the attraction of investments relating to the storage for renewable energy sources and photovoltaics, local production of biofuels, and many other actions.
Thank you very much. Indeed, you mentioned the Eurasia and Euro-Africa interconnectors, and this leads me to another consideration that we also try to explain to our associates, to Italian companies. So the rule of Cyprus not only has a sole country, so the last country of Europe in the East Med, but above all, the position, the rule, and the relations that Cyprus has with other neighbors, non-EU country. In this sense, could you give us some remarks about the rule of Cyprus in the area of the East Med, so the relations in terms of economic, and according to economic point of view, with the non-EU countries in the area?
Yes, well, indeed, Cyprus has been focusing on enhancing its political and economic relations with countries in the Eastern Mediterranean for the past few years. So further to the strengthening of bilateral relations with these countries, Cyprus has established, together with Greece, the trilateral cooperation mechanisms with a number of countries, including with Israel, Egypt, Jordan, and Lebanon. The further development of economic relations with these countries, which go hand in hand, but they also reinforce each other with the traditionally strong political relations, can also serve as a factor of stability, peace, and security in the region. Based also on the focus that we give on economic relations, both bilaterally but also in the framework of the trilateral mechanisms. We believe that Cyprus has a renewed position and role in the Eastern Mediterranean, and Cyprus can serve as a bridge for cooperation between countries in the region and the EU.
Thank you. The term bridge means infrastructure, so the infrastructure industry. Not only for Cyprus, but also for the area. There is a huge demand of infrastructure, and the National Recovery Resilience Plan across Europe has stressed the attention of this particularly industry. Together, and we know we energy, we have talked healthcare and so on. In these terms, the Italian-Cypriot Chamber of Commerce is supporting prominent Italian companies that are involved in these areas, energy, infrastructure, healthcare, and so on, in order to develop economic relation with Cyprus. In these terms, can we have some insight about the support that the Economic Diplomacy Department of your Minister of Foreign Affairs can offer to Italian companies in order to support them in the development of their business in the area, Cyprus and so on?
Yes, certainly. So as I explained before, regarding the model that we use for economic diplomacy, our ministry maintains excellent relations and communication with all key economic stakeholders of the country, both from the public and also the private sector. So we work together with them and we coordinate with respect to the planning of economic diplomacy activities, such as the organization of business events, awareness raising about policies, legal framework, incentives, and so on. So we can therefore facilitate and support the organization of such events or facilitate contacts with any other stakeholders needed. You can reach out directly to our department here in Nicosia, or through our network of embassies around the world, including the one, of course, in Rome.
Thank you very much. And you have delivered a very, very interesting and clear picture about the Economic Diplomacy Department and what Cyprus is doing to adapt as a country in that area for the modern challenges. So once again, thank you very much to have had the time and so to be with us during this very difficult moment. And before to leave the floor to the President for the conclusion, I just want to ask the last question about the Italian-Cypriot Chamber of Commerce. So do you see that we can give any contribution in order to support the strategy and also the economic strategy that Cyprus is carrying on in order to keep strengthening the business relations between the two countries, and also, as you have very well highlighted, to support the international cooperation in the East Mediterranean area? Thank you very much once again.
Yes, thank you. Well, first allow me to say that I was actually really pleasantly surprised when I was acquainted with your chamber in my function here at the ministry. And when I discovered the range of activities that you are promoting and how active you are in the field. So really, I believe you're already doing an excellent job with all the activities organized. So I actually think that you have an example that can be used as best practice. And I think this is the one relating to the newsletter that you sent regarding public tenders. All the other news that you share with your members, and actually this very smart talk that you are having regularly. This really helps to strengthen the relationship. Nevertheless, I believe that, of course, there is always significant room for improvement, especially also, as I explained before, with respect to the trade volume, that I think there we can perhaps do more to try and increase the volume of trade. And as regards the, let's say, the activities and the cooperation in the Eastern Mediterranean, this can be expanded to include, for example, we can try to engage Italian and Cypriot stakeholders which have presence in these countries, and like embassies, the chambers, trade centers, trade agencies in your case, or even some private companies that are based in the neighborhood of the Eastern Mediterranean, and try to explore cooperation on that basis and further strengthen ties in the Eastern Mediterranean.
Okay, thanks Irene, thanks Federico for the moderation, and thanks Irene for what you said about our activities. Thank you very much, and also for the excellent contribution to this smart talk. Just let me say a couple of words to conclude. Yes, there's first of all, one of the things that you mentioned about the opportunity, the huge opportunities that belongs to recovery and resilience plan. I can confirm that the chamber is already active on this. We have in place specific activities in some areas. One of these is energy, but also health technology. So we are working in the establishment of consortia among entities, Cypriot and Italian entities for European, for specific calls on this in this sector. So I believe that there are really huge opportunities, and and what I can say that we are already working on this, and what and also in the newsletter, in the activities in the coming month, we will talk again about these specific opportunities, encouraging also the companies to contact us, to ask information, because there are really a lot of opportunities, and this could be a really important really important area to develop, to further develop the cooperation. This is one thing. Federico also mentioned the next Smart Talk that we'll have with the 23 of March. And the Smart Talk will be with Francesco Quagliozzi, that is the Director General of one of the most important Italian firm in agri-tech. That is a sector that Irene mentioned, that is a sector where we see a lot of potential in terms of cooperation, because in agri-tech is involved technology, sustainability, innovation. So there are several aspects of interest during this time. And last but not least, I have to thank I have to say that with the chamber has in place a really excellent relation with the economic diplomacy department of Cyprus, with excellent relation with the embassy of Cyprus in Rome, excellent relation and cooperation. So we are really, it's important for us to remark our commitment to improve and to develop the relation. Of course, also we have in place excellent relation with all the public and private stakeholders. On the Cyprus, what we consider Cypriot Italian axis. So this is So absolutely, I believe there is a huge potential of cooperation, and we will proceed with, we will confirm our commitment to enhance and to develop again the already existing relation. So thank you everybody, good afternoon, and see you soon. Thanks, bye-bye.
Thank you
very much, and pray for Ukraine. Bye.